Hello everyone. Today we'll be doing a hands-on practice of the inventory management module. This presentation is organized into three parts: product architecture, business process flow, and hands-on operations. First, let's look at the product architecture. Inventory management is a fundamental and core component of our supply chain. It is closely integrated with other functional modules, including R&D, production, supply, and sales. At a high level, inventory management maintains basic data related to warehouses and materials. Based on predefined business rules, it supports common inventory transactions such as receipts, issues, transfers, counts, and inventory adjustments. In addition, the system analyzes and summarizes inventory data to support business decisions. Next, we'll go through the business process flow of this module. The business process flow follows this sequence: basic settings, inventory initialization, receipts and issues, inventory count, and period lock for inventory. Now, let's move on to a practical demonstration. Let's log into the system. Go to Supply Chain Management, Inventory Management. The system provides a visual flow platform using flowcharts to clearly show basic data process flows and data analysis. This helps us understand inventory operations more easily. First-time users can follow this flow to carry out inventory operations step by step. Let's start with some basic settings. Go to Basic Data. First, let's look at material inventory information. This is used to maintain material inventory attributes across different inventory organizations, such as SKU, planning strategy, default warehouse, default storage bin, enable min inventory alert, enable safety stock alert, enable recorder point alert, and enable maximum stock alert. We can also set lot number management, enable serial number management, and shelf life management. Next, let's look at inventory status. This defines whether current inventory is available: frozen, scrapped, defective, or in transit. If the predefined inventory statuses don't meet our business needs, we can add a new status. Click New, enter a code and name, and then click Save. Next, let's look at Warehouse Management Group. This is used to differentiate business groups in inventory management and assign business users to each group. Click New, enter a code, and name. Select a business user. The system will automatically populate the corresponding department. Then click Save. Next, let's introduce several important basic data elements in inventory management. First, let's look at warehouse and storage bin. They are the locations where the enterprise stores inventory. On the warehouse page, we can define relevant business attributes, such as enable storage bin, allow negative inventory for all materials, drop shipping virtual warehouse, bonded warehouse, and consignment sales warehouse. To add a warehouse, click New and enter a warehouse name. Then, select the relevant attributes according to the actual scenario. If Enable Storage Bin is enabled, we need to add storage bin information first. Select the corresponding storage bin. Enable Default Storage Bin, and then click Save, Submit, and Approve. The warehouse information is now created. To add storage bin information, click New, enter a code and name, and then click Save. We won't repeat the steps here. Next, let's look at lot, serial, Tracking number rule. On this page, we can set applicable scope, including applicable lot number, serial number, and tracking number. For code settings, you can specify a value or get it based on variables in the documents. You can also set length and step value as needed. After configuring the coding rules, select the appropriate rule on the material inventory information. The system will automatically generate codes according to the assigned coding rule. Let's look at lot master and serial number master record. On the lot master page, the system provides information about lot numbers for materials with the Enable Serial Number Management parameter enabled. Lot numbers cannot be entered manually. They are generated automatically through related receipt documents. This feature records the related materials, their corresponding lot numbers, the creation time, creation organization, and current status. In the Movement Track section, the system displays issue and receipt records. Next, let's look at Serial Number Master Record. This is similar to Lot Master. Data provided is also generated through related receipt documents. However, unlike Lot Master, this allows manual entry, and manually added serial numbers can only be set to pending receipt status. The manual entry process is simple. For example, first select a material for which the enabled/disabled status parameter is set to available. Then, enter the serial number and click Save. The saved serial number is in pending receipt status and can be referenced in subsequent receipt documents. For master record with generated serial numbers, the system displays details about the material serial number and serial number status, such as in warehouse, issued, to be issued, or to be received. The system also displays the inventory organization of the serial number, its current warehouse, and all receipt, issue records of the serial number. Now, we've finished introducing the basic data related to inventory management. It's time to perform inventory initialization in the system. Inventory initialization has 3 steps: enable inventory management, enter initial inventory data, and end initialization. During this process, we can also record beginning transactions, such as beginning sales issues, beginning sales returns, beginning purchase receipts, or beginning purchase returns, by using the corresponding business initialization documents. These business initialization documents won't affect inventory. Inventory is updated only by the initial inventory list. Let's start with Enable Inventory Management. Only business units with inventory management functions appear on this page. This page provides information such as inventory organization, enabled status, and enabled on. Select an organization for which inventory management has not been enabled, and click Enable. An enabling date is required. For example, today is the 29th of November 2025. The system defaults to the current date, or you can choose a specific date. Click OK, and inventory management is enabled. Once inventory management is enabled for an inventory organization, we can decide whether to enter initial inventory data based on actual business needs. To enter initial inventory data, we switch to the initial inventory page and click New. Please note that the system does not allow initial inventory data to be entered for organizations that have completed initialization. Here, select the organization for which we have just enabled inventory management. Set business date parameter to a value earlier than that of enabled on set for the organization. Then select material codes. Here, for the third material entry, the secondary attribute is enabled, so we need to enter a value for secondary attribute. Set beginning quantity. For the first and third material entries, lot number management has been enabled. So we can click Generate Lot Number for these materials, and the system will automatically populate the lot numbers. Notice that the third material entry already has a lot number rule defined on the material inventory information page. As a result, the lot number can be generated automatically. For the first material entry, no lot number rule is defined, so the lot number can be entered manually. Next, set receiving warehouse for the initial inventory. If there are many material entries, we can click Batch Populate to speed up data entry. Select inventory types. The system provides multiple inventory types, such as assets, normal, free gift, VMI, consignment, and entrusted processing. We can select the appropriate inventory type based on the actual business scenario. For the third material entry, serial number management is enabled, so serial numbers are required. The value of quantity of serial number is 5, so 5 serial numbers are required. We can click Batch Generate or select existing ones. When we click Select Existing ones, only serial numbers with a to be received or issued status can be used. In this demo, we click Batch Generate. The system generates serial numbers in batches based on the serial number generation rule defined on the material inventory information page. Click Save. Then, click Save, Submit, and Approve. The inventory data is then updated to on-hand inventory and inventory period balances. Once initial inventory data has been entered, the inventory organization can move on to end initialization. Open the end initialization page. The inventory organization appears with a status of not initialized. Select the inventory organization and click End Initialization. The status updates to initialized. If issues are found in the initial inventory data of an inventory organization, we can click Withdraw Initialization. The status updates to not initialized. Then we can edit data on the initial inventory page. In this demo, initialization is now formally ended. That completes the walkthrough of inventory initialization. After inventory initialization is completed, normal inventory operations, such as receipts and issues, can now be performed for this inventory organization. Next, we'll take a closer look at inventory transactions, including receipts, issues, transfers, and transfer-related operations. Let's start with purchase issue, receipt, and sales issue, receipt. In the purchase issue, receipt module, we have purchase receipts, purchase return list, and arrival confirmations. In the sales issue receipt module, we have sales issue list and sales return list. These transactions are covered in detail in purchase management and sales management, so they are not repeated here. Next, let's move on to miscellaneous receipt and issue. In this module, we have issue request list, miscellaneous issue list, and miscellaneous receipt list. This module is used for non-standard receipt and issue scenarios. In these cases, inventory needs to be updated by using miscellaneous issues or miscellaneous receipts. Let's start with issue request list. Open the issue request page. We can generate an issue request through conversion from an upstream material request or create one manually. Here, let's walk through the manual creation steps. Click New. A new issue request page is displayed. Set requesting organization and request type. For request type, we have options such as demand goods issue, consumables issue, scrapped goods issue, welfare issue, and office suppliers receipt. We can select a type based on the business scenario. Document type defines the business scenario that this document is used for. We have options such as asset issue request, entrusted issue request, standard issue request, and VMI issue request. Select an appropriate option as needed. Next, Enter the material details. Then, set quantity requested as needed. After setting material code and quantity requested, we can click Query Inventory to check the on-hand inventory for the selected materials under the current inventory organization. This helps prevent inventory shortages when the request is converted into downstream documents. We can also select a specific on-hand inventory entry and click Return Data. The system automatically brings back the lot number, warehouse, and all relevant inventory data to the corresponding entry, based on the selected material. Inventory dimensions on the issue request page are optional. If they are left blank, the system will still perform automatic picking when the issue request is approved and converted to other issue documents. In this case, the system matches data based on the current on-hand inventory. Click Save, Submit, and Approve. Then, click Convert To for conversion to a miscellaneous issue. After conversion, the material entries are automatically matched against the on-hand inventory of the current inventory organization, and the system automatically populates the lot number, warehouse, and other parameters. On the miscellaneous issue page displayed after conversion, the fields such as inventory organization and document type cannot be modified, but we can adjust quantity according to the actual issue quantity issued. Then click Save, Submit, and Approve. The inventory data is updated accordingly. The system deducts quantities from on-hand inventory based on the data of inventory dimensions specified in the Material Details section on the Miscellaneous Issue page. Now, let's take another look at the Issue Request page. You'll notice that the status of this issue request is now closed. If an issue request has not been fully issued, its status remains normal. Once all requested quantities have been issued through Miscellaneous Issue, the issue request is automatically set to closed. On the issue request page, there are two operations to call out here. Kingdee AI Suite supports batch conversion across multiple issue requests. So we can select multiple requests and click Convert To convert them together. Here we have business operation for approved issue requests. For example, if the requested quantity is 10 and only 5 have been issued, the remaining quantity may no longer be needed due to business reasons. We can select the corresponding document and click Close. After that, we can also reopen it if needed. A miscellaneous issue can be generated from an issue request through conversion or created manually. Here, we click New. Set inventory organization and document type. Set document type based on actual business needs and scenarios. We have options such as Asset Miscellaneous Issue, Standard Miscellaneous Issue, VMI Miscellaneous Issue, and VMI Miscellaneous Issue Return. Then we enter data in the Material Details section. For any receipt or issue document that requires inventory updates, all required inventory-related fields for the material must be completed, otherwise the document cannot be submitted. This is a system-enforced control to prevent inventory data errors. For this material, the secondary attribute is enabled. We can manually enter value for secondary attribute here. Then select the lot number and the warehouse. We have match inventory using goods issue rule here. In this document, we only need to enter issued quantities here. Click Match Inventory using Goods Issue Rule. The system automatically matches the appropriate on-hand inventory for this material under the current inventory organization based on the Good Issue rules. The system then automatically populates the required inventory-related fields for that material entry. This makes document entry faster and more accurate, and also ensures that the selected inventory quantity is actually available at the time. Next, Let's look at this material. Serial number management is enabled for it. We also need to enter serial numbers. Click Enter Serial Number. Here, we have select existing ones. If the serial numbers are already known, we can also enter them manually. In this demo, we click Select Existing Ones. The list shows serial numbers that match the current material entry. Select the required serial numbers. Click Save, and then Exit. Click Save, Submit, and Approve. Once approved, inventory is updated. This means the system automatically deducts quantities from on-hand inventory based on values of the specified inventory-related fields. We can also run inventory inquiries on approved documents, as well as query information in Lot Master. If lot number management is enabled for a material, we can click Lot Master. Here, the system records the source and destination data for each lot. After the miscellaneous issue is approved, if we need to return part of the quantity, for example, if too many items are issued, you can click Issue Return here to convert to an issue. Return from the miscellaneous issue. When converting to an issue return, check Quantity. Since a miscellaneous issue return is a reverse document, the quantity is displayed in red. For example, let's return only one item of this material, which has serial number management enabled. As the upstream documents contains data of the quantity and serial number fields, the system brings in serial numbers from the upstream document, in this case, the two serial numbers that were just issued. We delete one and click Save. That means data of serial number 003 will be returned. Click Save, Submit, and Approve. The inventory is updated, and the status of the returned serial number is also updated. Let's take a look at the data on the miscellaneous issue page. In the list, we can distinguish documents by type. This is a miscellaneous issue, and this one is a miscellaneous issue return. Miscellaneous issue returns can also be added manually. The steps are similar to what we covered before, so we won't repeat them here. Now, let's go over some of the functions available on the miscellaneous issue page. For example, some miscellaneous issues are associated with serial numbers. Users may want to view the serial numbers directly from the list. To do this, select the entry. We click Query Serial Number. If serial number management is enabled for the material in that entry, we can click Query Serial Number. This lets us see the details of the serial numbers associated with that miscellaneous issue. We can also query the status of the associated serial numbers through this inquiry. Next, let's go over miscellaneous receipt. At present, miscellaneous receipts can only be created manually. After a miscellaneous receipt is completed, the system also supports the miscellaneous receipt return process. The document operations for a miscellaneous receipt are similar to those for a miscellaneous issue, so we'll keep this part brief. Click New. The miscellaneous receipt page is displayed. Select an inventory organization. Set document type to Standard Miscellaneous Receipt or Standard Miscellaneous Receipt Return based on business requirements. In the Material Details section, we set material code. And a quantity. We can select an existing lot number or manually enter a new lot number. After entering the inventory information for the material, we click Save, Submit, and Approve. After the approval, The system automatically updates inventory. On the miscellaneous receipt page, we also have batch populate, generate lot number, query inventory, lot master, and serial number. These functions are used in the same way as on the miscellaneous issue page. Next, let's move on to transfer. In this module, we have transfer request list, direct transfer list, multi-step transfer out list, and multi-step transfer in list. Let's start with transfer request. On the transfer request page, we can initiate a transfer request. Click New. Select a requesting organization. Set document type to Entrusted Processing Transfer Request. Standard Transfer Request or VMI Transfer Request. Then select a transfer type. We have two options: intracompany transfer and intercompany transfer. An intracompany transfer refers to a transfer between different warehouses within the same organization. An intercompany transfer refers to a transfer between different organizations or different owners. In this demo, we select intercompany transfer. Set material code and quantity. Lot number management is enabled for the material we selected. At this stage, the lot number is optional. On the transfer request page, the system does not enforce mandatory entry of inventory-related information. Here we have transfer from organization. We select Kingdee China Manufacturing Company. Then we have transfer to organization. We select Kingdee SG Sales Company. Other inventory fields can be left blank. When the transfer request is converted, we can select Match Inventory using Goods Issue rule. This feature supports reservation. We click Save, Submit, and Approve. Then, in the Material Details section, we have Reservation. Reservation is used to set aside inventory in advance to ensure that after the transfer request is approved, the system has sufficient inventory when we make direct transfer or multi-step transfer out. So we can make a reservation based on the current document. Click Reservation. The manual reservation page is displayed. Here, we select Strong Reservation. This is because weak reservation allows reservation transfers and is not involved in automatic picking. Now we can see that, in the supply information section, this material has two entries in different warehouses. We can either select the inventory records manually or click Auto Match. When we click Auto Match, the system automatically allocates 1 unit from one record and 3 units from the other record for reservation. We proceed with the reservation based on the system's auto match result. Click Save and then OK to complete the reservation. The reservation is now successful. After the reservation is completed, we click Reservation here and select Reservation Inquiry. On the reservation record page, we can see that this material currently has 2 reservation entries. These reservation entries are generated from the transfer request. 1 unit reserved for CNZ lot 000002 and 3 units reserved for CNZ lot 000003. Now we return to the transfer request page. Click Convert to, and then select Direct Transfer. During conversion, the system performs automatic picking. It first picks based on strong reservation. If the reserved quantity is insufficient, the system matches inventory based on on-hand inventory. Based on the reservation records, the system splits the material into 2 entries, one with a quantity of 3 and the other with a quantity of 1. The direct transfer page displayed after conversion, the system automatically populates the transfer from organization and transfer to organization, and these fields cannot be modified. In the material details section, The quantities are populated automatically through automatic picking. After verifying the document information, we click Save, Submit. The warehouse field is not filled in. The system displays a prompt. We need to enter the transfer to warehouse information before submitting again. Next, let's move on to direct transfer. Open the direct transfer page. A direct transfer can be converted from a transfer request. It can also be created manually. The manual creation process follows the same flow as the miscellaneous issue and miscellaneous receipt, so we won't go through it again here. Let's open an existing direct transfer document and walk through the key fields. If the direct transfer is created manually, we first need to specify the transfer from organization. Then select the transfer to organization based on the transfer type. In the material details section, we add or select material codes and configure the required inventory fields. Also, we have match inventory using goods issue rule, query inventory, and serial number here. These operations work the same way as they do in miscellaneous issue. After approval, we can still click Query Inventory, Lot Master, and View Serial Number. Since these functions are consistent with what we've already covered, we won't repeat them here. Depending on the business scenario, we can click Convert To, and then Transfer Return to convert a direct transfer to a direct transfer return. A direct transfer return reduces inventory in the transfer to organization and adds inventory back to the transfer from organization. Next, let's take a look at multi-step transfers. A multi-step transfer out can be converted from a transfer request or created manually. The conversion process is similar to converting a transfer request to a direct transfer. Here, we'll demonstrate the manual creation of a multi-step transfer out. Click New and select a transfer from organization. Then select a transfer type, either intracompany transfer or intercompany transfer. When intercompany transfer is selected, the transfer to organization becomes available for selection. In this demo, we select intracompany transfer. Now let's explain in-transit owner. During a multi-step transfer, the system tracks inventory that is in transit, and the in-transit owner field is used for that purpose. This field defines who owns the inventory while it is in transit. In this demo, we set in-transit owner to transfer from owner. This means the ownership remains with the transfer from organization while the goods are in transit. Next, select a material code. Set quantity and transfer from warehouse. Then set transfer to warehouse here. To make it easier to understand in-transit inventory during a multi-step transfer, we'll look at it together with on-hand inventory. First, let's query the on-hand inventory. In WH1, this material has 25 units available. On the multi-step transfer out page, in-transit owner is set to transfer from owner. We click Save, Submit, and Approve. Then we go to the on-hand inventory report page. Click Refresh to see what changes. You'll see that out of the original 25 units, 8 units are transferred out from WH1 and are now in transit. So the on-hand inventory is now split into 8 units in transit and 17 units remaining available. As a result, 2 inventory records are created, and the in-transit inventory record is owned by the transfer from organization. Next, we'll continue with the multi-step transfer out. On the multi-step transfer out page, we click Convert to and select Multi-step transfer in. If the transfer is completed in batches, for example, a total of 8 units were transferred out and 5 units are transferred in. First, we enter 5 under the quantity field. On the multi-step transfer in page, all material dimension data is automatically carried over from the upstream document. We click Save, Submit, and Approve. Then on the On-Hand Inventory Report page, we click Refresh to see the changes. You will see 3 inventory records. One of them still reflects the remaining inventory of WH1 after the deduction. The quantity of the material in transit has been reduced by 5 units, leaving 3 units still in transit. In WH2 of the transfer-in organization, the inventory quantity increases by 5 units. This shows that the multi-step transfer allows inventory to be precisely tracked by in-transit status and quantity. Next, we will explain the in-transit return process. In the multi-step transfer process, the inventory is transferred out from the transfer from organization or warehouse to the corresponding transfer-in organization or warehouse. We'll walk through the multi-step transfer return process. There are 2 scenarios in the multi-step transfer return process. In the first scenario, the inventory has been transferred out but not yet transferred in and remains in transit. In this case, we can click Convert to and select Transfer Out Return on the multi-step transfer out page. You can see that the quantity field in the Material Details section is automatically populated to 3. We click Save, Submit, and Approve. Let's check the on-hand inventory. Now, the 3 in-transit units have been returned to WH1, and the value of inventory quantity is updated to 20. In the second scenario, the goods have already been transferred in by the corresponding transfer to organization and need to be returned. We can click Convert to and select Transfer in Return. For example, 5 units were transferred in, but we only need to return 1 of them. We enter 1 for quantity. Click Save, Submit, and Approve. After the transfer in return, the on-hand inventory is updated and an in-transit record is generated. Based on this transfer in return, we click Convert to and select Transfer Out Return. Click Save, Submit, and Approve. We check the on-hand inventory once more. You can see that the inventory quantity of WH1 is updated to 21 and WH2 shows 4 units actually transferred in. With that, we've completed the explanation of the multi-step transfer and return process. Next, let's look at the Entrusted Transaction module. This module is used to manage customer-supplied materials in inventory. The inventory management and operation steps for customer-supplied materials are relatively simple. We have Entrusted Processing Receipt Registration List, Entrusted Processing Receipt List, and Entrusted Processing Return List. Now, let's first click Entrusted Processing Receipt Registration List. On the Entrusted Processing Receipt Registration page displayed, we click New. Set Receiving Organization. The customer field here is mandatory. Since the owner of customer-supplied materials must be the customer, the document header must record the customer. Select a material code. Enter the material quantity. On the Entrusted Processing Receipt Registration page, the warehouse field is not mandatory. We can fill it in if needed. Here, inbound inventory type is set to Entrusted Processing, and inbound inventory status is set to Available. Inbound inventory owner type and inbound inventory owner are fixed. Inbound inventory owner type is fixed to customer, and inbound inventory owner is automatically populated based on the customer in the document header. Similar to the features introduced before, we have query, batch, populate, generate, lot number on the Entrusted Processing Receipt registration page. We click Save, Submit, and Approve. After the operation, the Entrusted Processing Receipt registration is complete. We can click Convert to and select Entrusted Processing Receipt. The system carries over information from the receipt registration notice, such as customer, quantity, and inventory-related fields of the material. On the Entrusted Processing Receipt page, click Save, Submit, and Approve. After approval, the system updates on-hand inventory based on the customer-supplied material data. Click Query Inventory. We can see that the customer-supplied material data has been updated. If we notice that the received customer-supplied material has a wrong quantity or a quality issue, we can click Convert to and then click Entrusted Processing Return. Similar, the quantity on the reverse document is displayed in red. Here we enter 4 for quantity. Click Save, Submit, and Approve. Then we click Query Inventory. You can see that there are now 20 units of this customer-supplied material in on-hand inventory. Both Entrusted Processing Receipts and returns can be created manually. The steps for manual creation are the same as previous document operations, so they will not be explained in detail. Let's take a look at assembly and disassembly. In this module, we have assembly list, disassembly list, and assembly BOM list. Assembly list is used in a warehouse to combine parts or components into assemblies. We can assemble by using a BOM or enter data manually. Disassembly list is used in a warehouse to break down assemblies into individual parts or components. The disassembly can also follow a BOM or be done manually. If our assembly or disassembly process relies on a BOM, we first need to configure the assembly BOM. Open the assembly BOM page. The assembly BOM shares the same basic data as the BOM in manufacturing. Open the BOM maintenance page. Here we have product name. It indicates the assembly. And here we have specification. It indicates detailed materials that make up this assembly. We'll go over how to maintain the BOM in detail in the manufacturing module. Now let's go to the assembly page. Currently, assembly documents can only be created manually. Click New and select an inventory organization. Switch to the After Assembly Material Details tab and set material code to the assembly we just mentioned. Fill in the assembly quantity and select the warehouse. We can click Generate Lot Number to generate a lot number or select an existing lot number for assembly. Then click Expand BOM. The system will automatically bring in the detailed materials based on the BOM data for this assembly from the Assembly BOM page. After the detailed materials are brought in, you can select the needed materials and click Match Inventory using Goods Issue rule to quickly populate the inventory fields. This ensures that our inventory is sufficient for the assembly. Here we have Expand to Next Level. If the components that make up the current assembly also have their own BOMs, you can expand them further to the next level. Once the document is completed, we can click Save, Submit, and Approve. After approval, the inventory quantity of the assembled item increases, while the inventory of the component materials decreases. This completes the assembly. Now let's move on to disassembly. Open the disassembly page. Like the assembly page, only manual creation is supported. Click New and set the inventory organization. Switch to the Before Disassembly Material Details tab. Here, we use the same assembled item from earlier. Disassembly is an issue transaction. Enter the quantity, and then click Match Inventory using Goods Issue Rule to populate the relevant inventory fields. Similarly, we can click Expand BOM to bring in the detailed component information for disassembly. The system automatically brings in the corresponding component details along with their quantities. Select the receiving warehouse for the materials after disassembly. We can click Batch Populate if needed. Disassembly works in the opposite way to assembly. The material before disassembly is issued and its quantity is reduced, while the component materials increase in quantity after disassembly. We click Save, Submit, and Approve. After approval, the quantity on the before disassembly material details decreases, while in the quantity in the after disassembly material details section increases. Next, we'll walk through inventory adjustment. We have bin transfer list, attribute conversion list, and rounding error adjustment. We'll focus on bin transfer list and attribute conversion list. Open the storage bin transfer page. A bin transfer document can only be created manually. Click New and select an inventory organization. Here we select one that currently has inventory available. Then select the material. Enter a quantity and select a warehouse. Set transfer out bin and transfer in bin. In this demo, we set transfer out bin to ZZ01AA and set transfer in bin to ZZ01AB. When we click Save, Submit, and Approve, the material quantity is deducted from bin ZZ01AA and increased in bin ZZ01AB. In summary, this feature is used to move a material in on-hand inventory from one storage bin to another. We click Save, Submit, and Approve. This completes the operation of storage bin transfer. Next, we'll walk through attribute conversion. Open the attribute conversion page. In the current business flow, an attribute conversion document can only be created manually. Only in quality inspection scenarios are they generated automatically. So here we click New and select the appropriate inventory organization. Set document type. We have several options, such as bonded material conversion, standard inventory status conversion, standard batch conversion, standard material conversion, miscellaneous standard conversion, and standard serial number conversion. We won't go through all of these one by one. We'll focus on standard batch conversion and standard serial number conversion. The operations for the other options are the same. In this demo, we select standard batch conversion. On the Before Conversion Material Details tab, we set the material code field. This material is managed by batch, so we select it. Next, enter a quantity. Select a lot number. We can select it with F7, enter it manually, or click Query Inventory to get the data. The system will automatically bring in the matching batch number and its warehouse. Then click Add to add an after-conversion batch entry. We can enter a new batch manually. We can also click Generate Lot Number to generate lot numbers in batches. If we want to modify the warehouse after the lot number conversion, enter a different warehouse. Click Save, Submit, and Approve. After approval, we see that the quantity on the Before Conversion Material Details tab decreases, while that on the After Conversion Material Details tab increases. That's how batch conversion works. Next, let's go over serial number conversion. Click New, and we'll continue with this inventory organization. Set document type to standard serial number conversion. We can select this option when some of the serial numbers for a material in the system have exceptions and need adjustment. Set material code. The system filters materials and only displays the materials with lot number management enabled. For the material we selected, the secondary attribute is enabled. So first, we enter a secondary attribute. We can also use inventory inquiry to bring the data back. Here's the extra step compared to before. We click serial number and select Enter Serial Number to enter the serial number of the material. Click Select Existing Ones. In the Select Existing Serial Number dialog box displayed, we click Query and select this one. Click OK. Next, we add the material with the converted serial number. For the converted serial number, the inventory-related field, except for the warehouse field, cannot be modified. Click Serial Number and select Enter Serial Number. We have two options here: Batch Generate and select existing ones. We select Batch Generate. We'll use this new serial number to replace the previous one. Click Save, Submit, and then Approve. Upon approval, the system performs an issue for the original serial number and a receipt for the converted serial number. That completes the serial number conversion. Now let's explore our on-hand inventory and clear zero inventory record in Query Inventory. First, we take a look at on-hand inventory. Open the on-hand inventory page and set the filter conditions. We have fields such as inventory organization and material classification criteria. Next, click Display Settings. Some fields are selected by default. If you want to display all fields, select All, or simply select the fields you need. Here we have sort settings. By default, the data is sorted by material code. We can also add sorting by warehouse or other fields as needed. The filter conditions can be adjusted as required. In this demo, we don't select any material. So we're looking at all materials under this inventory organization. Then click Query. Based on the filter settings, the system displays the on-hand inventory for all materials in the selected inventory organization. If the same material exists under different inventory dimensions, it will be shown in multiple rows. We have inventory quantity and available inventory quantity. The available quantity is calculated as inventory quantity minus reserved quantity. In the on-hand inventory view, we can click the blue items for inquiry. For example, we click this number. The material receipt issue details page is displayed. Here, we can see all receipt issue details for this material within the defined date range. Here we have beginning revenue, issue, and balance fields, all shown with detailed records. On the on-hand inventory report page, we have serial number and reservation. If a material has any reservations, we can select it and click Reservation to see the details. The same goes for serial number. For example, if serial number management has been enabled for this material and the available inventory quantity field of this material is 23, we can click serial number to see the detailed serial numbers in warehouse status. The total number of serial numbers matches the value of available inventory quantity. And that's how we use the on-hand inventory report page. Next, let's look at report analysis. First, we have material receipt, issue summary. It shares the same data source as material receipt, issue details. The material receipt issue summary page shows a summary for materials, while the material receipt issue details page shows every single receipt or issue transaction with all the information. We can decide what information we want to see. We can choose which fields and data to show, and even do totals or summaries based on specific fields. Basically, we can set it up as needed. Now, we click Query to view all data of material receipt and issue summary under this inventory organization. On the material receipt, issue summary page, material data is summarized based on different inventory dimensions. Here, the system summarizes data based on dimensions of beginning, revenue, issue, and balance. On the material receipt issue detail page, on the other hand, the system shows detailed records of every individual receipt and issue transaction for each material within the selected period. Here, the system also summarizes data based on dimensions of beginning revenue, issue, and balance. In inventory management, the rest of the features follow the same steps, so I'll just move on. Next, let's take a look at inventory alert analysis. This feature is a bit different from other ones, but the basic inquiry conditions work the same way. We start by selecting an inventory organization and setting the material category related fields as usual. Here we have alert settings. We can click Safety Stock Alert to check the safety stock. We can also click Add to add settings of the minimum stock alert, maximum stock alert, and recorder point alert. In this demo, we'll use Safety Stock Alert as an example, and click Query to check and analyze the entry with a variance less than 0. Here, we can see that the current stock of this material is less than the defined safety stock. The safety stock is set to 50, while the current stock is 33, which is 17 below the defined safety stock. Based on this result, we can select Generate Purchase Request by Safety Stock to initiate a purchase request. After the purchase request is generated, we can click View Purchase Request to query this purchase request. We can see that the system has automatically generated the purchase request based on the safety stock variance. After that, we go back to the Inventory Alert Analysis page. We click Expand Filter. On the Display Settings tab, we enable Purchases in Transit Statistics. Then the system includes the purchase request in transit here. Now we click Query to run the inquiry again with the new purchase request included. We notice that this alert no longer appears in the results. So now, in-transit purchases are also counted. That's how the inventory alert analysis works. Other features follow the same inquiry steps we've just covered, so we won't go through them one by one here. Next, let's walk through one of the key operations in inventory management, inventory counting. In the Count module, we have Count Scheme List, Count Sheet List, Inventory Gain List, and Inventory Loss List. The process starts by creating a count scheme. Once the scheme is approved, the system automatically generates a count sheet. The user then enters the actual counted quantities on the count sheet. The system automatically calculates the inventory gains and losses and generates the corresponding documents. First, let's click Count Scheme List. On the Count Scheme page, only manual creation is supported. So we click New to add a count scheme. On the Count Scheme page displayed, we enter a scheme name. Set count type to period count. This is data backup condition. We have two options, on-hand inventory and inventory on end date. If we select on-hand inventory, the count sheet is automatically generated by using the on-hand inventory quantity as the account inventory. If we select inventory on end date, the system will take the ending balance for the specified end date and use it as the account inventory on the count sheet. Here we have Exclude New Document. It deals with situations where some transactions are approved after the end date and update the inventory. In this case, we can enable this parameter. Of course, if we want to include those backdated quantities, we can just disable this parameter. In this demo, we set data backup condition to on-hand inventory. Here we have Include Zero Inventory in Count. Sometimes the system shows inventory quantity as 0, but in real business, there might still be inventory gain. These zero quantity records can still be counted. We just need to enable this parameter. There's another parameter called freeze issue, receipt. This means that during a count, users want the data to be as accurate as possible. So they want to make sure no other receipts or issues happen during the counting period. In that case, we can enable freeze issue, receipt. There's also enable recount. It's used if the first count is inaccurate and a recount is needed. We can enter two quantities. One is the actual count quantity, the other is the recount quantity. There's also enable dynamic count. Dynamic count means that within the selected date range, we can generate count statistics based on the related documents we selected on the Dynamic Count Document Settings tab. Next, let's look at the count scope. On the Count Scope tab, we can set the count range by warehouse, storage bin, material, and some other common filter conditions. This helps avoid counting too many items at once. Generally, we recommend counting by warehouse separately. For example, we can choose to count only the data of this warehouse. On the Count Scheme Split Rule tab, we can set rules for count scheme splitting. Depending on the settings, the system can generate different count sheets. On the Dynamic Count Document Settings tab, we make documents-related settings. Before that, Make sure Enable Dynamic Count is enabled. This defines the document range used for dynamic counting. If there are lots of materials to count, and the generated count sheets don't match well, we can sort them by warehouse or material code. Usually, we sort by material code. Based on the count scheme parameter settings, the system will generate a count sheet for WH2, using on-hand inventory as the count quantity for each material. We click Save, Submit, and Approve, and then click Query and select Downstream to check the generated count sheet. This is the count sheet the system generated. At present, count sheets can only be generated by approving the count scheme. Let's open the count sheet. In WH2, there are 4 materials in on-hand inventory. The system has automatically pulled the account inventory data. We can enter the counted quantities based on the actual situation. For example, this one shows an inventory gain. This one is also an inventory gain. This one is an inventory loss, and this one matches the account inventory quantity. Once we enter the data, the system will automatically calculate the inventory gain and loss quantities. We click Save, Submit. We need to set Counted By. Then we click Submit and Approve. After approval, the system will automatically generate the inventory gain and loss documents based on the settings. Let's check the generated inventory gain and loss documents. We click Query and select Downstream. We can see both the inventory gain and inventory loss documents have been created. Currently, the status of these documents is draft. The document status can be controlled through system parameters, where you can set whether generated inventory gain and loss documents are draft, submitted, or approved. Let's approve the inventory gain document. Let's take a look at the inventory gain. It's also a receipt type document. It works the same way as any other receipt document. It can be created manually as well, in addition to being automatically generated from the count sheet. Now we click Save, Submit, and Approve. The system will automatically update the on-hand inventory data. Inventory gain is a receipt document, while inventory loss is an issue document. The inventory loss is also automatically generated from the count sheet. Of course, we can also create an inventory loss document manually. After we click Save, Submit, and Approve, it actually performs an issue operation, deducting the corresponding quantities from on-hand inventory. That covers the key operations for inventory counting. Finally, let's talk about inventory closing. Enterprises regularly close their inventory for a period to make sure all inventory data is accurate and up to date. We open the period lock page. We can see all inventory organizations displayed on this page. Here we have period lock settings. Here, we can choose whether to check documents in draft or submitted status, whether to check for negative inventory, and other options. The system will check the inventory according to these settings. We have lock period and unlock period. Let's select an organization and click lock period. If the period lock fails, the system will show period lock failed under period lock, unlock result. We can see a message of failure reason here. There are submitted or draft document. The system will list these documents here. We can find these documents and submit them for approval to make sure the period lock can go through smoothly. We'll skip this document for now and try another inventory organization to see how a normal period lock works. We select this organization and click Period Lock. This time the period lock succeeds. After a successful lock, the system automatically updates the last period lock time. And that's how we perform a period lock for inventory. If after a period lock we find some documents still need adjustment, we can do unlock the period. Here, we just select an entry and click Unlock Period. Once it's done, we can make the necessary changes. After a period lock, you can't adjust data for a period that's already locked. Now we go ahead and perform the period lock. That wraps up some of the basic but really important operations in inventory management. For more features, feel free to explore and try them out in the system. That's all for today's session. Thank you.